Unit 3, the prehistorical period, an overview of events from Genesis 4 through Genesis 11. So what happens during these next chapters in Genesis? A lot of really important stuff happens, and this is the kind of where we're going to go next. So let's do a quick overview of of what's coming down our timeline as we get into continuing to go through the Bible. So we know that at the end of Genesis 3, God banishes Adam and Eve from Eden, right, as a punishment, but also as a protection. In chapter 4, we see that Adam and Eve have children. We see specifically Cain, Abel, and Seth. Chapter 5 is the genealogy of Adam. Specifically, it's the genealogy from Adam to Noah. And at the end of chapter 5, we're introduced to Noah, a very important character, and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, in verses 30 through 32. So after that, we see in chapter 6, we see man's wickedness, we see giants, and we see God's regret. We'll look at that in this module. Second part of chapter 6, we see the story of Noah and the ark, right? God makes a covenant with Noah to save his family, and the way he's going to do it is by commanding Noah to build an ark. So chapter 7 through 9, we know that God destroys mankind with the flood, but he saves Noah and his family. God makes a second covenant with Noah to never ever flood the earth again. That's in chapter 9, verse 12. After that, we see some genealogies of Noah's sons, Japheth and Shem, in chapter 10. We see the Tower of Babel event in chapter 11, verses 5 through 9. We see the genealogy of Shem in chapter 11, which is important because through that genealogy, we meet another significant character, which is Terah, who is the father of Abram, who later becomes Abraham. And then in chapter 12, we know we're going to look at one of the first really significant covenant of the Old Testament, and that is God's covenant with Abraham in chapters 12, 1 through 3. So what we're going to do, here's our plan, right? In module 5, we're going to go from Adam up to Noah. We're going to look at man's wickedness, and we're looking at God's response. And then in module 6, we're going to go from the flood all the way up to Abraham. So that's our course for the next two modules. So let's begin to dive into these events as we go into Unit 4. We want to look at Cain, Abel, Seth, and the rapid spiral of human depravity.